Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to this week's Oxford Analytica video briefing. I'm Sarah Michaels, Deputy Director of Analysis, and we are delighted to have with us today Oxford Analytica's advisor on global economics, Vanessa Rossi. We're going to be looking at the risk of a hard landing for the Chinese economy, what exactly that constitutes, and what the consequences would be for the global economy and for China's key trade partners. But first question, Vanessa, what, in your view, is a hard landing by Chinese standards?
Well, certainly if we see growth slipping beyond the 8% mark, I think that by China's standards that would be considered to be a hard landing. I think we have already a slightly bumpy landing if growth dips to the sort of 8 to 8.5% range, but currently we're well into soft landing territory with the latest figures coming in at 8.9.
So there's really no risk that you see that the Chinese authorities will have to undertake the kind of response that they did so vigorously in early 2009?
Well, the difference with 2009, and I think still is true in spite of our worries about the Eurozone, is that at that time all the rest of the world economy was taking a severe nosedive. The losses in world trade were high double digits. China's exports were down by around 25% at that time, and many economies were slipping into very substantial recessions. So I think that the wholesale panic and the worries about the direction then warranted huge action, and arguably they took even more action than was necessary, but in the circumstances where you absolutely had to make a statement that China would grow, it was quite essential. This time round we've got something of a mini replay. It's true that the world's taken a bit of a dip, but the dive is nothing like as big as that we saw in 2008-9. So China's response will be commensurate with that. I think we'll see softening up just to make sure that growth prodded a little bit in the right direction, and that's all in line with the manoeuvres we've just been seeing in the last couple of months.
Now, it's very interesting. Now, you're talking about external factors that are going to influence the likelihood of a soft landing, but I'd like to flip that around a bit. So let's say that we do have a soft landing somewhere between 8 and 8.5%, as you described. What are the consequences for the global economy, for the United States, and for the euro area, which you mentioned?
Well, if China's economy really does slow much more than I would presently think, if we're really moving towards that 8% level, then I think we will both be concerned about the reactions in China itself, whether there could be a few panic buttons being pressed there and what that might mean. But also what we'll see is that along with that there would be further slowdowns on the import side, and it's the imports demand of China which has of course been a prime motor for many other economies in the world. Not so much of course for Europe and US because we're relatively smaller importers in China, but certainly for the rest of Asia and for some of the resource economies. The slowdown we've already seen in Brazil, for example, could become rather a worse slowdown if their export performance begins to deteriorate. So the knock-on effects will be much wider across the developing and emerging market world.
Oh, that's very interesting. Well, thank you very much for that, Vanessa. And thank you to all of you for watching. This is Sarah Michaels from Oxford Analytica.